Oh my gosh, you guys, check out what this customer just brought me. Take a look at that wheel. Holy cow. Welcome to this week's episode. If you're new here, my name's Forrest. I'm a bike shop manager and mechanic. And on this week's episode, I have something very exciting planned. I'm going to be taking you on a day in the life with me working in the bike shop. And our first order of business is to take care of an e-bike repair. So first on the chopping block of repairs, we got an e-bike, or some may know it as an e-scooter. And it actually has a flat rear tire. Now I think this e-scooter is going to be super easy to repair. It's actually looking like the rear tire will just drop straight out. However, our one issue, the wire right here that connects the motor to the scooter does not come unplugged. So I'm going to have to put a chair or something down here and lower the scooter down, turn the tire sideways, and change the inner tube. Okay, we got the wheel loose sitting right here. I'm going to get the tube switched out. So check it out. This right here is the hardest part. We're going to get the lever underneath here and begin prying up. We actually, on this tire, have to work off the opposite side of that wire because the wheel can't be removed from the bike. And some of you may have noticed what popped this tire, but in case you didn't, check it out. We got a massive screw here in the end of our tire. With the e-scooter back on the road, we can turn our attention to the next machine that stands right behind me right now. What's going on with this guy is we have a stuck front shifter. I'll show you what we got. The shifter right here is actuating, but the pawls are not engaging. So when we press the shift lever, the front derailleur does not engage. It engages about 50% of the time, but the customer states in cold weather, the shifter does not engage, and I can tell you what I think it is. So the factory grease they put inside the shifters, the white lithium, here's a little bit of it right there. White lithium grease likes to coagulate, especially in cold weather. I'm gonna flush the shifter out and flush all the shifter pawls out on the inside, and hopefully it's gonna work great for them. So, with the shifting on this mountain bike working exponentially better than it did before, we're going to go ahead and move on from this one, and we're going to replace some tubes and some fat tire e-bike wheels. You guys can't hear it, but I can hear air hissing out of this tube from a couple different spots. It just got hit with a lot of thorns. I'm going to clean the inside of this tire, and then I'm going to go back, and we're actually going to be installing a Tannus Armor tire insert inside of this guy. At least for the rear, because this kid likes to ride a lot of off-road, and where we live there's so many thorns outside that you take these things off-road too much without a tire insert or tire sealant, you're going to get flats consistently. Okay, so to get this Tannus Armor in, we're going to lay the tire on the side just like this. Here's our Tannus Armor insert. Start by getting one end in here. If you have to be a little forceful, that's okay. I'm going to start using my fingers, pushing the tire insert around. I'm going to have to spin this tire a couple different ways to get this first side all the way in. Then we're going to fit the tube inside the insert and air it back up. This customer only wanted the back tire replaced with the Tannus Armor. The front's going to be a lot easier for them to change if they have to do it on their own. But I figured I would spare you guys the details on that one, as it is pretty much the same process, just involving an inner tube. It's a little easier, a little bit quicker. So I'm going to catch up with you guys for the next repair. We have this really cool colored Aventon Solterra 7. This is another electric bike. And here's the problem with it. The customer was getting a ticking noise coming from the back wheel. They initially had thought it was the motor. I started feeling around on all these spokes, and there was one broken spoke that was actually broken way down at the bottom. You could hardly see it. I do believe that's the cause of this customer's ticking sound. Now, if I'm correct, we should be able to think a little bit smarter, not harder. And as you can see, I've already started to pull half the tire off on the stand. If we pull half the tire and we peel back the yellow rim strip in the area with the broken spoke, we can feed a new spoke nipple in there. I already have the spoke pre-cut for this guy. We should be able to just feed the spoke in there and get this customer back on the road pretty quick. So we got the spoke nipple here. Carefully pulling the spoke nipple out of the wheel. We're going to now feed the new spoke in there, stick the new spoke nipple back in that hole, and we'll be good to go. With this bike all set, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next repair. Our next repair we're doing is going to be taking care of some regular regular old school mountain bike tires someone brought in. We're going to be throwing some new tubes in here for them. While I'm at it, I figured I would take the time. Thank everyone that tunes into these videos. I see all the likes and comments. I really appreciate people taking the time, spend a little bit of time out of their day hanging out with me. With that being said, this video is far from over, but I would like to say we've got a lot of fun adventures planned soon. I'm actually going to be going out of the country at the end of this week. So if you guys haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and make sure you turn post notifications on so when we upload, you are notified. If you guys have any questions about any of the repairs or anything how-to wise, feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know if you guys want to see anything or want me to talk about anything specific. Always happy to engage with you guys down there in the comments and take a look at what people are interested in. YouTube has a feature that I haven't tried yet as well, and it's the live video feature. A lot of creators are doing that nowadays. I thought it would be really interesting to go for a mountain bike ride or just a bike ride in general and go live during that. Or maybe a live mountain bike race. I still do race my mountain bike every once in a while, downhill races. Maybe people would be interested in a live stream where I actually do a downhill race on the live stream. You could be live maybe like from my helmet cam on my GoPro or something. That would be pretty rad. Okay, that's the last inner tube we had to do there. I'm gonna get these aired up and we're gonna move on to the next repair. The next bike I have here in the stand is gonna be a little bit of a project, but that's okay. We like projects. So this customer was telling me that the rear gears are skipping around a lot. Just looking at this cassette, it does look a little bit worn on some of these smaller rings here in the back on the higher gears, and the chain is pretty shot. I think what I'm going to do first is try to put a new chain on it and see if that takes care of the gear skipping problems. I might also go ahead and lubricate all the shifter cables and flush the shifters while I'm at it, just to make sure that the shifters aren't part of the issue as well. Customer also did want to get rid of these Presta valves. He wants to have these rims drilled out and go back to the normal Schrader valve. He says he rides this bike on the street a lot and ends up at gas stations with a lot of flat tires, so having a Schrader valve makes things a lot easier to replace inner tubes when that needs to happen. So I'm going to get to adjusting some shifting. I'll take you guys along with me, and then we're going to put these inner tubes in. Okay, I got this old GT all cleaned up and dialed in. Just got back from a test ride, and I think it's going to be good to go. Let me show you guys what we have going on here. So I got the cassette done. Wow, look how shiny that is. Did a deep clean on that. Put a brand new chain on it. Really focused on stripping all the old grease and everything we have here from the drivetrain. And then I did go ahead and drill the wheels. Went ahead and drilled the wheels out for the Schrader valve stems, front and rear. Then I just went ahead and hit the whole bike with BioWash. Got it all cleaned up. It's coming down to the wire here. Just got a couple more little projects for the end of the day, and we'll see where the rest of the day brings us. I did also flush both of the shifters, front and rear, for the guy, just in case that had anything to do with the skipping issues. Oh my gosh, you guys, check out what this customer just brought me. Take a look at that wheel. Holy cow. This guy told me he came in contact with a truck. Actually, he was pulling out and the driver of the truck got some sun in his eyes and they both collided. Luckily, the guy was completely fine. He did hit the ground. Bike had a couple small dings in it, but overall it was just the front wheel that got ran over. It's actually pretty incredible. Speaking of damages, check out this bike. So a customer just brought me in this Ozark Trail gravel bike. It's actually pretty cool. I didn't know Ozark Trail even made a gravel bike. Anyways, this guy took a spill as well. Wants to get the shifters replaced on this guy. As you can see, they're still actuating, but they're just all scratched up. This one's nice bent up and it actually doesn't. This one does not actuate. We're gonna go ahead and get both of these switched out, and then he also wants to get some new handlebar tape. I wanna say back here, his derailleur is a little bit crooked as well, so we're gonna straighten the derailleur hanger and go from there. I got about an hour left today, so we're gonna try to hammer this one out and see what we can do. All right, so now that we've got the shifter brake assemblies here installed on the bike, I got all the cables re-tied, and as you guys can see, I got half of the handlebar re-wrapped. I figured this would be a good opportunity for me to show you guys how I wrap road bike or gravel bike handlebars, as I have seen a few questions of that in my comment section. Did get the derailleur on the back of the bike straightened out as well. It was a little tweaked. and this thing is looking really good. The first thing that I would do when wrapping handlebars, obviously you need handlebar tape. I always recommend black because every other color gets dirty really fast. What I like to do is, depending on what tape you have, this is MSW handlebar tape, which is pretty user-friendly and a good tape to start with. Resembles like a factory handlebar tape pretty well. I pull back the backing off the sticky part. This stuff's not super sticky, but there is some handlebar tapes that get very sticky, and you have to do a little bit of that at a time. And I actually start at the end of the handlebar right here. And what I do is I take the bottom of the handlebar tape and I put it just on the edge of the handlebar like that. That way we have a little overlap for when we put our handlebar plug in. We're going to fold over the edge of the tape. So I put a little overlap on the end and I wrap towards the bike, just like this. And you're going to use tension for this part to hold the tape down. You're going to wrap underneath just like that, and then you're going to start going in a triangular pattern, just overlapping the handlebar tape enough in an even pattern, facing what would be towards the handlebar on the inside, just like this. And we're going to try to get the handlebar tape as even as possible. Might be a little tricky to see because it is black. If you use white or any other color, make sure to wash your hands before this. I would not be wearing these gloves that I just finished this repair with if I was using white handlebar tape. You're going to have to slightly start to change the angle of the tape as you go up the handlebar. Some handlebar tapes that are really thick don't really like to stretch as well, and if that's the case, you're just going to have to do the best you can if the tape is really thick. So we're coming up on the first junction here at the brake lever, and I want to show you guys what to do next in this step. We're actually going to use this little section that they provide in the kit to cover up this section of brake lever. If your kit doesn't have that little section pre-cut, I like to just cut like 3 or 4 inches off the end of the handlebar tape. Try to get it as even as possible across the metal strip right there. Anyways, I hold that with my 2 hands here. If your tape is really sticky, you might not have to hold it. We're going to come up around the back of the brake lever there. And then now is the tricky part. A lot of people get confused. We were wrapping towards the bike right here. Now what I do in this section is I come around, so we're coming to the outside, and then I go under, and then on the top here we want the tape to be facing the rider. That way when they grab the handlebars and they're twisting back, it doesn't rip the tape. So we're going to come up and over the top there, and then at this point it's up to you to decide how far back you want to start. If your hood starts really far back, you can start this a little farther. I'm going to play it safe and start it right here, just where the shifter cables begin to be exposed. And then in again a triangular pattern, we're going to start to wrap back towards ourselves. It's at this point I'm going to stop and check and make sure the hood covers everything we need it to. So in this case, this hood is really big, which is good for us. That means we can usually get it right the first try. You want to check the little triangular section there in the end where it's exposed, and there'll be another real small one on the bottom there. I should mention too, when you are wrapping this, before you get too far, check up underneath here and make sure none of the tape has ridden up on itself. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of handlebar exposed, and at that point you would want to go back and fix that. And it can be a bummer if you get all the way down here and realize there's some handlebar exposed. Would take something to measure with. I've got a Park Tool ruler right here. You can measure the distance between the stem and the handlebar tape that I ended on this side. So in that case, you're going to be looking about 35 millimeters. To finish tape this handlebar is we're actually going to use some scissors and cut the handlebar tape in a triangular fashion, just like that. And we're always going to be cutting towards the stem or towards the bike. If you cut away from the bike, when you do the finish tape, it's going to make the tape ride really high up, and it just doesn't look that good. Again, this will be up for your interpretation, whatever angle you would like to cut it at. This is just the angle that I always cut it at. I like to go longer than shorter, and I keep it as even as possible. Even line to end, and my glove's falling apart. And measure between the stem and check, and we're right at 35 millimeters on both sides, maybe a little bit under, maybe 30 millimeters. You can leave the handlebars finished with electrical tape, but it is always nice to use their branded finish tape. But some people say they like to hold a lighter underneath the finish tape and actually melt it together. But this finish tape is pretty strong, so we're not going to do that today. I'm going to have the chance to monitor this overnight, make sure it doesn't come unraveled for the customer. We have a handlebar plug right there. The plug's got to go in the end of the handlebar. It's the last step. So what I do is try to push all the handlebar tape. We're going to try to catch that side here with the bar plug. This does take some force, sometimes the use of a rubber mallet. Just be careful if you have a carbon handlebar, probably don't hit that with a mallet. I'd like to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today in my day in the life inside the bike shop. If you guys could, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and check out the playlist I'll link in the description. You can see plenty more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.